welcome to tonight's show. Big Boomer Energy. Remakes and reboots. Who are they really for?
Who are these for? Now, before we do that,
Odd job slap.
right. Before we dive super in, we're gonna pose the question. Keep it in the back of your head because we're gonna revisit it at the end. Now, here's the big question: can any and all enjoy the reboots and the remakes? Who is this stuff for anyway? So now, to kick us off there, good Onyx. Reboot and remake, according to dictionary.com, is something apparently media, content, movies, the like, that has been restarted or revived. That's the same thing as a reboot, which is taking any type of media, IP, anything like that, which was made for entertainment purposes and is based upon and retells the story of an earlier production using the same medium. So this is what we are.
That's your difference. Great example. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a remake. It took what it had and redid and revived some stuff and added and subtracted. Final Fantasy Crisis Core is pretty much a one-for-one remake.
Reboot. Right. Like, they didn't change anything that, well,
they upgraded some graphics.
No, well, I'll put it like this. Crisis Core would be what you would consider a remaster.
Yeah, there you go.
They didn't change anything. It literally is ported over from one system to another. In the form of a remake or a reboot is what we're doing is, like I said, they're going to retell the story. We're going to retell the story that we once had, and either we are enhancing it, we're changing the story a little bit, we're going to do this just slightly different. So we're going to take the one thing that was established at one point, and then we're going to do a little bit of finagling. Now, the reason why we got this topic, because again, apparently we're in the era of reboots and remakes.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We've been doing that.
We don't know. So stupid.
Right, we don't even know who to blame for this.
No.
We don't know whose fingers to point at this. How it's been started. It's been going on for a while. If we want to do our earliest rendition, we can even do the original Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh my gosh, John Leguizamo is
right,
the
which
best.
Has been wiped from Nintendo's memory.
I know. I can't find it.
They remember, they hated it. They hated it so bad they will not acknowledge that it was a thing.
Just so y'all know, there are two movies I cannot find. That is the Super Mario Brothers movie, streamed anywhere, and
don't say Dogma, because I showed you.
You did show me where to get Dogma, but it's hard to find, man.
It is, but remember, I told you why.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a hard movie to find. I was struggling to find Daria until I had to dig through Amazon Prime, because it was originally on Hulu.
I want to say you can actually see it now on HBO Max.
I just bought it. I just bought it on Amazon because it's like $8 for all seasons.
Yeah. So here. Let's start the question. So, what's the point of reboots and remakes? What's the reason?
Are they trying to feed on, now that we're older and we can actually afford merchandise, are they trying to feed on our childhood dreams?
If you want to be honest, if we're going to start that conversation, then that's how I feel.
That's how I feel.
Now, again, this is where I actually have to put, and you can see it in my title, I'm literally calling myself a jaded Zennial. That's how I feel today. You can tell how old I am, okay? Somebody who was literally born at the end of 1980, okay? So a lot of this stuff, was my literal childhood. I mean, I grew up, I was what you consider the target audience, maybe. So we're talking about, I grew up with the original Thundercats. I grew up with He-Man. I grew up with She-Ra. And to expound upon what Onyx said, a lot of that stuff, people like me in our age group grew up, and then you want to see this again.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like that's probably a very small majority, because a lot of us, and you know who you are, some of y'all in this chat right now, and that's why you're here. you you don't want it, it's like holy ground. It's sacred. It doesn't want to be touched. So I actually agree with you, Honest. I feel like we're older now. We could, like, you couldn't probably barely convince our parents to buy the toys, because I know the one thing that my parent indulged me in, I know full-time nerd could back me up on that, is Ninja Turtles everything. Ninja Turtles everything. And it's funny that I would say Ninja Turtles now, because you could not convince me to shorten their name when I was young. You better not call them Ninja Turtles. You had to say the whole thing.
Quest.
Thank you.
It's like a pimp named Slickback.
Right, you had to say the whole thing like this. Like Riley, you had to say the whole thing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, like you had to convince your parents, or like yeah, right, to say the whole thing.
Say it. It's like a tribe.
It's like my sister had the Cabbage Patch, because that was a thing. You know, you had to have the Cabbage Patch, or like I had to have like I said, Ninja Turtle everything. All of it, all of them. But you had to, like, we were kids back then, begging our parents, oh, this way. Oh, or like I begged, because even though it haunted me to this day, begged to have that Nintendo game. One of the most notoriously hardest Nintendo games known to man. I had to have it. I remember me and my sister going to Take 10, shout out to Take 10 in my hometown, in the mall, dropping quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter to feed into this. I think what it is now is they want to capture that lightning in the bottle, because we are the parents now. And which leads me into my other question. Who are they relying on the success for these reboots? I think it's a twofer. They're trying to capitalize on the nostalgia of the generation that grew up with these shows, but they are also trying to grab the new generation to keep the revenue flowing for years to come. And I can agree with that. But yeah, because you're counting on the brats that I birthed to be into it, because I was into it.
Right.
Case in point. Like, and I have some examples where we'll go through them, because we still got these questions. Case in point, like we were saying, TMNT. You're counting on me and my fan crazed ass to have popped out a new breed of toy wanners, you know, the toys.
Right.
And you're counting on me to say, oh man, dude, this was my joint, you know, coming up. Don't you want to watch this? And
I literally just did that with Olivia, and I was like, hey, you want to see where mommy got probably like 3/4 of her personality? It's called Daria. And we sat there and watched like the first 3 episodes. Now she knows what Daria is. Also, like, Naruto, we've introduced her. Like, she came up to me like 5 years old. Mom, have you ever heard of Naruto? I was like, first and foremost, we pronouncing it Naruto. It ain't Naruto, right. Okay?
Right.
And I can't stand it. I
remember watching X play back in the day. They kept saying Naruto.
Naruto. I was like,
and I was like, yeah, I felt like they were saying it because they didn't like it, so they kept saying it. I haven't seen an original idea since Harry Potter, and that was just a reskin Star Wars. Facts. But I give it to Joanne for at least not trying to reinvent the wheel, just reinventing a different way to ride that bitch. Yeah. So I do give it to her for that. But it's funny that you would say that. But yeah, no,
we are walking advertisements.
Yes. Okay. Because I don't have one on now because I wore it last week and I didn't want to redo it, and I almost wore the other shirt. But look at us, we're buying the merchandise now because we didn't get it exactly when we were younger, and you're counting on us to have bred some more, nostalgia, right. Monkeys to eat up what we grew up with. Case in point, my husband always makes a point, and he says that, man, now that I'm older, I wish I can go back and buy all the Transformers I didn't get a chance to get back then. Like he said, he knew this kid back then. I always got that kid in that neighborhood that always got, you got the toy, you got the Transformers, right. You got this, that, and the, yeah. Like in that's who they're depending on. They're depending on, like they said, our old rusty behinds to be like, oh man,
Right.
this was the joint, and then turn it on. So then when you do the reboots and the remakes, they want that serotonin drip to come in on us to be like, man,
You did the same with the Gundams. Ryan was talking about it, thinking about a Gundam the other day.
right, right. Like because who don't remember Voltron? That's how it starts. Where you go and watch that and be like, man, remember this. So, like you said, since we're talking about Gundams, then they go and redo Voltron, which, not gonna lie, I liked until the end and started getting a little muddled. But
of course,
yeah, I enjoyed it. So again, I do agree with a lot of y'all. Of course, like I agree with Onyx. I'm on the fence about who the reboots are actually for.
Right.
Like I hear what they're saying. That, oh yeah, it's for the new generation, but I think they're too dependent on our generation.
Oh, definitely. We had a lot of creative minds back then, and we had a lot of original ideas, and we had it was a good ass time. And how can we redo that good ass time with those good ass profits?
So that's a good question.
Yeah.
She said, why do you think our generation is so nostalgic?
I have a small theory. Okay. Mostly among like ethnic communities, because we didn't get to get all of the things that we wanted. We didn't get to get every Zelda game, and we didn't get to go when conventions were very young to any place where we could feel some type of way. So that's also why I feel like there's this weird ground that we're at, where we're excited when we hear something's new, but then we sometimes gatekeep and block or make others who are new to it feel some type of way. Because for me, I had to hide my nerdness at school. I went to a predominantly black school, and I'm sorry, I probably would have got my ass handed to me if I walked around and did a Naruto run back then. Right. And I did a lot of things to continue to fit in by watching things that I didn't really care about, like Flavor Flav, but then going and watching Sailor Moon afterwards. But I had to watch things like Flavor Flav to keep a conversation with the fellow black children that I went to school with. So I also feel we are upset a little bit too, because this newer generation has made this popular and acceptable in society. And we, as the ones who were there first, we discovered this, and it's just a bunch of millennials and zennials bootlegging this stuff on torrents. Yeah. YouTube in 3 parts. We're the ones that did that. They didn't have to go to our struggle to get the content that they have now. And I feel like not only do we get excited, but we do get a little upset at the same time. I feel like I went off topic, but that's all right.
No, that was good. Okay. To answer your question from my perspective, Sheik, I think our generation craves it so much. Personally, for me, and I do feel like there's a lot of people like this, it's one of the few times in our, and now again, no offense to our other viewers out there. I'm not trying to ostracize y'all, but this is one of the few instances that a lot of black people were happy.
Yes.
And I think that's why our particular, because again, not saying that that's not across the board, it is, because a lot of us get to this point and then we're starting to redo these things or reintroducing it. But personally, I look back on it, it's one of those things that few moments in our childhood we had all these little things that a lot of us think about on fond memories of.
I'm putting that as a topic, just so you know. Why black people black people love anime.
Yeah. Personally, for me, it's one of those things where I told you, me and my sisters would come home and you had the older we got, then at that after school, you had the Dragon Ball, you had the da-da-da-da-da. But that was like a private thing.
Right.
Because wasn't nobody going to school talking about that then. Or even some of the other stuff that I had growing up. Like, to me, some of my happiest memories of watching TMNT or Saturday morning cartoons.
Right.
Some of my happiest memories was coming home after school, back when they actually played cartoons after school, because yeah, we had cable in our house, but that was just in my parents' room. So we had like basic cable in our, well, basic TV shows in our room. But I remember Fox after school would play like Peter Pan. They would play DuckTales. They would play Tailspin. They would play all this stuff like that. And those are happy memories for me. So when they go back into that and then they reboot some of those shows, it automatically flips me to, oh man, yeah, I remember coming home after school.
My neighbor is knocking on my door.
Oh no, you're fine. It automatically triggers me in my head to be like, oh man, I remember DuckTales. They dusting off DuckTales. They want to do that. Oh man, I remember I was stupefied about this show. Personally, for me, I feel like a lot of our generation, now I'm taking color out of it, but I think a lot of our generation generally remembers being happy. And it goes back to, was it you, Black Buddha, that said that was our time when we were most creative during that time? Because again, think about it. We really were. It was an open door to be creative. This is coming off of the golden age of comic books. So the creativity is flowing. You want to make about superheroes. You want to do about, so yeah, no, comic books are still big. So you want to translate the kids of the 70s and the 60s who grew up with comic books now want to make a cartoon.
Yep.
So, but we're their children. So we're watching it like, and that's making our creative juices go. And now we want to get up and create. So now we've had these kids, but then to me now it's getting a little bit of lost in translation, because I, like what Onyx said, now we're starting to steep into gatekeeping territory. Right. Do I want you to touch it? Because like I said, if this was Peter Pan, those would be my happy thoughts. So if those are my happy thoughts, why would I want you touching my happy thoughts? Don't touch my happy thoughts. Don't change them into anything else. Why would you? Why can't you think of something else? Go think of something else. Get out of my happy thoughts. Go. Find your own. And it gets to a point where we darn sure don't want anything.
What Caribbean Geek just said. It's those moments of memories that we had were precious. Like I could sit here and I would tell Kevin, hey, do you remember when we would get off the bus of Paul Bro or whatever, run to Keithan's house down the street? Because we got off the bus right at 4, so Dragon Ball Z came on right at 4. So we had to run to his house. Like, those are memories, and they're precious. And it was the... You know, the Saturday mornings watching Yu-Gi-Oh! With Troy and him teaching us how to play the card game, because me and Kevin, we couldn't afford, 1,000 fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, but we had a cousin who did. And so it was nice. Or learning how to play World of Warcraft, or going to T. Mike's house, another cousin of ours, and playing, while him and my brother did their thing, I would sit there for hours and play Typhoon, what is it? Roller Coaster Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon.
That was me and my sister jam on the computer, the Tycoon games.
And those they're very precious memories. And now that they're easily accessible, you feel some type of way.
I was about to say it, because I agree with you, Chic Caribbean, on that one. Because everybody is in the era of, I don't want to wait weekly for anything. Drop me all my shit now. Netflix, that's what I pay you to do, so I can binge all 52 episodes right now. Yeah, it takes the thrill out of it. Like I said, who getting up on Saturday morning to try to catch one Saturday morning for Doug Funny and the rest of them, when I got Cartoon Network on demand, I got YouTube on demand, I got all the rest of them on demand. Like, I could just go into it and not have to wait. Like, these kids nowadays, they'll probably look at you like you could wait.
Like, I was asked the other day, I was like, why don't we have like premium YouTube so that I can not watch the commercials? She's like, I just can't do commercials. I just can't do, my daughter, my 13-year-old. She's like, I just can't do commercials. And I was like, how? How can you not?
Said it online, it was like, but the commercials is when you went to go get your snacks or go use the bathroom. And I remember And
but
I wish my
now they
homegirls
can
would
pause
watch
it.
it.
They can pause it.
Yeah, like I get on the phone and be like, "Are you watching? Are you watching? Okay, okay. Commercial was over. Okay, I'm gonna call you when I get back. Bye." Like that was fun. That was fun, and you don't have that today. Things
No.
are too because it makes you think fondly on those things, and it like I said, it does a good drip of dopamine and serotonin for you, and you're like, man, that's good for us. They don't get that, which is why I think it's almost an issue with reboots and remakes.
Yeah.
It's not going to trigger in the younger generation the same way that it did for us. But when we watch those reboots and we watch those remakes, it's not giving us the same thing, because again, it's too different. That's where my boomer card is showing.
Yep.
It's too different. The animation is different. The voices are different. You did things to it. It's not the same. It's not for me. Let me go back into my Wayback Machine and just live back where I was.
You're right.
So,
I also watched the early morning Fox Kids cartoons, and the one that was on ABC Family in the morning. They actually, I don't know if a lot of people knew that, at like 6 to 8 they showed anime. So I don't know if y'all saw Zoids, but that was there. Monster Rancher was on that one.
Yeah.
And I would get up extra early for school and watch it. Yeah, he know. Bruh, Zoids, Monster Rancher, dude.
No, I'm gonna show my age again, because Full Time Nerd can't even she can't even help me on this one.
Likers.
I'm gonna drop a gem I'm gonna drop one. How many of y'all remember VR Troopers?
Let me make sure my brain is connecting that word with the thing.
We are VR Troopers. Dream Go Virtual Reality.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody is as old as me.
Y'all, there was a Baldwin in this show?
It was like
Big Bad Beetleborgs.
And again, all that used to come on. I know for me and my older sister, 6:00 in the morning, we were getting ready for school. But Power Rangers dominated all of them, and they didn't get as big as a foothold. Big Bad Beetleborgs and VR Troopers, they didn't get as much as a foothold as Power Rangers did.
I'm so glad that we're making you smile. I got two more for y'all before we continue forward. Just to juggle y'all little nostalgia whatevers. Metabots and Zatch Bell.
I'm trying not to yell so I won't blink.
Yeah, you are like zoning out.
Zatch Bell was my...
You don't seize out on me.
That show was everything.
I love Zatch Bell. I love Metabots.
Speaking of remakes, Zatch Bell actually had one.
They did. Or I thought that was a continuation.
It came back after a bazillion years. You do the math. So yeah. Yeah, the budget, they just didn't get the same budget. No, that's what I'm saying. And so Power Rangers took over, and VR Troopers and Beetleborgs went the way of the wind. And I was kind of mad about that. So with that being said, while we're on that, so who really is the target audience for reboots and remakes?
It's I personally feel,
because we know what they're saying, but
us.
That's how I feel.
It's not even us. It's our pocketbooks.
Agreed. Because even the people I watched today for some research on this topic were people in our age demographic, either between me and you, our age demographic. And what do you see behind them, like they got behind you? All the figurines, all the toys, all the stuff they didn't have growing up, or had, or lost, or all that stuff like that. And then they just had to. So again, you're targeting the generation with the cash, the expendable money now.
Now Power Rangers. Is Power Rangers still going on? Does anyone know?
I want to say there's always an iteration of Power Rangers going on now. Yeah, I see Black Booty say yeah.
How dare they?
Yeah, yep. Because they say they know we want to buy all the things we couldn't afford as a kid. Okay, so she says, I kind of feel like they're trying to pull us in. Like a lot of people will watch to see if they can pull off the reboot so they make money. Correct.
Right. It's now like become a game, a betting game.
Right.
Um,
Name me one kid in the newer generation that on their own flipped to these reboot remake shows and found them and was into them without the aid of one of our generation introducing it to them. I don't know any.
and I'm not gonna lie, it does get aggravating watching them on either like TikTok or Reels be like, hey, this is the best of this anime. Did y'all know this anime exists? And I'm over here like, yeah.
You know what bothers me in them shorts
ago.
while you're talking about that? They do that with songs too.
Yeah.
Like the songs that we grew up at, like we were born in 1918. Have y'all like, okay, first of all, I am barely over 40. Relax, you cupcake. Okay. It's not even that damn old. Okay. Most of the artists y'all talking about these songs, these folks are still actively having careers.
Yes.
So stop acting like they been off the planet for 1,000 years and you just discovered it. Way to go, Christopher Columbus.
I think the biggest song one is they took the Nuck If You Buck beat. What was that song that they took it for? And because I'm sorry, I was in the club with Nuck If You Buck. So
we all were in the club for Nuck If You Buck.
So when it comes on, I'm like, I'm ready to bust some fucking heads. Let's go. And it's like this other song. It was Juju on that beat. Is that what that is?
It's so many of them that infuriate me.
I hate it.
The most egregious one that started me to turn my brain off from them is when they did the Monica challenge. Remember the So Gone challenge?
Thank you, Black. Like, Juju on the beat.
Juju on that beat. like literally. Or you got these new whisper artists now that are redoing songs that literally barely 15 years old. That bothers me. I'm just waiting on somebody to remake Juvenile's Back That Ass Up like they just heard it. Like I'm literally waiting on somebody to do that. Like, oh snap, y'all heard this song? So I could just look at them like this.
Like, they bet not touch it. They bet not.
They touch everything. And just like Bad Tail Kids, they break everything they touch.
They do. They are badass. They are literally just badass little kids.
Everything they touch. Just like, you just go up there, put that down. Just like your mama told you, when you get in the stove, don't touch nothing. Keep your hands touch the side. Don't touch anything. That's what I had to start telling them. Stop touching stuff.
God,
get in
please.
Here, sit down.
Can't make nothing for yourself. Can't make nothing for yourself, and you take everything and it's manifest destiny everywhere.
But the first time we say stuff like that, then it's okay, boomer. Settle it down.
Yeah.
Y'all being old. Stop that. Why y'all acting like that? Why we can't enjoy nothing? Why y'all have to act like y'all?
We're not
y'all
mad.
Do stuff like that.
Because
they do stuff like that.
We're not upset because you have found the thing. It is literally manifest. No. I'm okay with them finding it. Great. Okay. I'm okay. I'm not okay with them claiming that they found it. Like
that part. So maybe that's what I need to say, because now, because they'll find it. Somebody will do some Cracker Jack box remakes to it and be like, behold, we made your song better. You're welcome, by the way.
You see my face of disgust. Can we move along?
Yeah, it stank. It can.
I'm going to move along.
All right, so here's the question while we're on it. Who does any of these remakes and these reboots benefit?
Oh, they definitely don't benefit us. Because a great example of how it didn't benefit was the Cowboy Bebop remake.
I'm glad you brought that up. Perfect example. Go ahead and expound upon it. That's hot.
As a hardcore, so everyone thinks big three for them is like Bleach, Naruto, and
Dragon
Ball, whatever.
Yeah.
My first big three was Trigun, Outlaw Star, and Cowboy Bebop. And maybe I got a thing for space. I don't know. But I was very excited for this remake, and I didn't take it with a grain of salt. And I even came to the consensus that, yes, some things will probably change, and we're going to be okay with that. I didn't think they would do all that, though. As much as I like your boy, I can't think of his name.
Who?
The one that played...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was very... Thank you, Johnny Young.
Yeah.
It was very upsetting. Now, like I said, there are certain things I was pleased with. I was pleased with the martial arts. I was pleased with the color and the camera angles and stuff like that. The cinematography of it. I was pleased with a lot of things. But the storyline and where they took a few certain things really just made me like throw up in my mouth. And it didn't benefit me. Did I watch it? Yeah, you got my view. It wasn't a hate view. Yeah. It was a decent ride at most. But this wasn't Cowboy Bebop.
It wasn't.
No.
It was in name only.
Right.
With few elements sprinkled in. And I to agree with you on that. It was too many things. It was too many pivotal things about what we were just talking about. What are we talking about?
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. Too many things about Cowboy Bebop. Literal brain fart. There's too much going on about Cowboy Bebop that meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
For them to have dropped the ball so royally, and I think at this point we had our behinds burnt so much from so many other live action things.
It's like we almost knew not
we're
to
on the topic because we're just going to really get
anything.
into it. Right, because again, remember, we lived through evolution. Dragon Ball. We lived through evolution.
I'm always ready to fight about Dragon Ball Evolution.
Right.
I wish Hopi was here. I wish my sister was here because Jesus Christ.
Right. We lived through Shamalam Ding Dong's version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. We could not take enough, even though Cowboy Bebop live actually wasn't as rage-inducing as those. We had enough.
Right.
We had you know what? Inuyasha might be. I had to replace my big three with that because I forgot about that.
Inuyasha pissed me off as a young child, but that ending song, like, bruh, the best jam at 3 a.m.
Hell yeah, it was. So while that was a good segue, we'll go right into our mini damning examples.
Yes, and the first one, my dear brother, if you're still here, Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is the first on the chopping block. The first. Oh my God! How dare you? It's so.
I got you.
So sexy. So sexy.
So this got introduced to this by my cousin. She came over one summer. I think I've told this before. And she was like, "Oh, I got this game. It's really fun." Da 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 da. And we sat there and we played this whole thing all summer. Yep. I got my original. Again, wasn't there because by the time I picked it up, it was already in the greatest hits. Mm-hmm. So not original because again, you already know it's been out for a while. You got this one,
but I still bask in the greatness of this original. Like, oh my God, you have the book. You have the book.
I still
bask,
got the book.
Everyone, hallelujah!
I still got the book.
Oh my God!
Right, I still got the book. This was my game.
Oh my God! All praises.
Y'all can tell nary a scratch. Got a couple of fingerprints, but nary a scratch on my disc. Remember, this was back in the time when there were 3 discs that you had to put in the game.
Oh my God!
So I still got all 3. Yep, the black back. I still got the...
Okay, I am going to see how much this is worth while we talk about this.
You should. Now, again, the original probably going to be way more than mine because, again, I have the greatest hits version. But I bought this before the PS2 dropped. So this was a PS1. I bought it then versus the steelbook of the remake, which yes, I dropped the extra ducats for the steelbook, and it's not actually 2 discs. They just got the disc the data disc, and then the disc you run for it. I feel like you discovered something cool. How much is it going for, big dog?
Yours is like 50 to 100, but if you got the black side, not the greatest hits,
Yeah,
you're looking at about $2,000 to $5,000 depending.
I kind of wish I got in, but like I said, I got introduced to it by my cousin, so I didn't know about it then. Um, yeah, like I said, the steelbook, mine's because I pre-ordered it, and I got a whole, but you can't see that I got a whole box. It's way up there. It came in a big box with like some other swags and stuff in it. This was actually a pretty good one for me, but it's good to know that my little greatest hit is worth a couple
If you
dollars.
had it still sealed, it would be 500.
Now I played this big dog. You see there the crack in the corner and everything. I played this bad boy. So yeah, that is, and I know for Dodo, this is rage inducing.
Oh yeah. So we have one homie in here, Dodo, who is a very, I don't know if he's still here, is a very hardcore Final Fantasy VII. Like, he literally sent me pictures today. He's a professor, and he sent me pictures today of him playing the original Final Fantasy VII on the projector in his classroom for shits and giggles. So that's how much. And he replays it like several times a year. As much as I go back and play Final Fantasy IX at least once a year, he goes back and plays 7.
Faithfully, right?
Faithfully, several times a year. And is my older brother. And I, like, this is once again that nostalgia that hits you with Final Fantasy VII. I remember we had first moved to Dallas and he started playing it. I was like 8, 9 years old watching my older brother play Final Fantasy. And I remember we got to the point with the wall in the Temple of Ancients where he kept dying. He kept, like, it was such a long fight. He didn't keep dying. It was such a long fight to the point where he was like, am I supposed to die? He thought he was supposed to die because it was such a hard fight. But that's like, once again, and I'm talking about waking up an hour early before school so that he could play and we could watch, so on and so forth. That's what we did. My cousin Troy, who played it also, would replace everyone's name with his cousins. You had Kevin, and you had me, and you had him. And that's our memories of Final Fantasy VII. That was the first probably JRPG that entered our household.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I got introduced to it. Me and my sister got introduced to it because of my cousin. She was there for the summer. She, you know, I think it might have been that summer school stint. I can't remember. But you know, our house was close to the school, so she would come to our house to wait for her mom to pick her up a little later. So she would like bring the game, and it'll be in her backpack. Yeah, and exactly. Most people, that's how. Unfortunately, unless you were like really into Famicom and the NES back in the day, and you knew about the early iterations of Final Fantasy, a lot of us got introduced to Final Fantasy because of 7, which is why there's an argument about whether or not 7 is genuinely the greatest one, or is it because it's nostalgic for us because that's how we got into it. Because again, my favorite one is 9.
Right. And I do hold 6 pretty dear now that I've played it as an adult. Right. I think we have to at least give 7 the props of flipping a fan base hardcore, because they did that. They did that.
Western audiences. Yep, that was us. This is how we got into it. This is how we got into long RPGs. This is how we got into a lot. I know personally for me, this is how I got into it. I got into it that summer. Never looked back. Like that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But am I a purist? No, because I enjoyed the hell out of this, and quite salty.
You need to play other ones. We're gonna have a Final Fantasy game play again, I think.
Was that the only one you ever played? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Now again,
you are missing out on some lovely story.
Full-time nerd will stand to argue that 8 is about the only one that she played hardcore and is her favorite one. That's why I said I can't go too hard into it, because that's my sister's. She liked that one, even though it got up under my skin a little bit. 9 was my favorite one. 10,
8?
8,
I'm sorry. I'm
8. Full-time nerd.
full-time
Dump
nerd.
it on your game.
I'm so sorry, but I have to.
Yeah. I remember, do you remember when we were playing 12 and we
Don't
both
you
was like,
judge me.
we were both like, this ain't it, Chief. I don't like all the lines. It's too busy trying to be an MMO. Yeah, it was a whole thing, Chad, by the time we got to 12.
I will say
That was
this
it.
about 8, and I'll leave it be.
Okay.
Another streamer that I watch, Pro Jared, made a point about 8. He said, in the first hour of Final Fantasy, you usually know what's happening. And he said in 7, we were already past the second terrorist bombing.
Yeah.
In 9, we were already escaped out of the evil forest in the first hour.
Yep.
And in 6, we had already found out that Terra was something else. Yeah. But when it came to Final Fantasy VIII, that first hour, you were still in your beginning area. Yeah, you only had few chances fighting, and you still don't technically know what the storyline is about. And that made sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. That's about the best way anybody can put it. You're right. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get some more damning examples of things.
Oh, yeah.
I talked about TMNT before. I'm not going to bring it up right now because we can always circle back to
that. She said I won't argue with this, but still.
Right, right. Another one that triggered a lot of people is the 90s classic Sailor Moon versus Sailor Moon Crystal.
I'm sorry. I was
and I
there.
almost wore my shirt today.
I should have. I got my cross and all on.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon, 90s Sailor Moon had a lot of, oh God, where do you even start? Because it was...
Exactly. Where do you start?
It had a lot of issues now that we're older.
It's just like this. A lot of us got really thrown into the anime world because of Sailor Moon.
Yes, I was Moon Prison Powering all up in my bathroom.
Me not so much as hardcore. Exactly. I want to say I was about to bring you up full time. I know not as hardcore as my sisters. Full-time nerd was, but then again, she was their target demographic too. She was more in the age group for that.
Yeah, the voices were a little bothering.
Okay, so I tried to watch Crystal, but the voice. Okay, as somebody who has watched both series down through there, not all of the movies of the original series. Now, my sister had a lot of those on VHS. I had to take it with a grain of salt. The voices didn't so much bother me as the animation.
The animation was janky.
It was too shiny. And even though they tried to make the characters look like how they did in the manga, that did not translate well on film to me. Those eyes were too much with those tiny faces. And yes, like I was with those people.
Oh my God, right?
But see, like Dragon Ball Kai, what I liked about Dragon Ball Z Kai is that the only thing Kai did was take out the fillers that the original series had. It was straight action all the time. That was it. So you didn't really get a change from DBZ to DBZ Kai. All Kai did was like, hey, I heard you nerds don't like filler. I'm going to take that out for you.
I got you. Bet.
Bam.
It wasn't like TV for kids or anything like that.
Right, no, yeah.
I'm sorry. One Piece's TV for kids was fucking crazy.
No, you want to know something that was crazy for kids? Is what they did to Card Captor Sakura.
Oh my God.
That if you want to see a butchering of anime from its original source material, go find them 4 kids doggone Card Captor. But I think a lot of people, when Crystal hit, it was a big old thumbs down from a lot of people because, like you said, they couldn't get with the voices. Or my issue with it was I got over the fact that it was super shiny and glittery, but I couldn't. Looking at them where they were ugly. Like I was like, wow, y'all are. But they fixed it when they did the movie, which I was appreciative for. Like they fixed it. They gave it a good balance between the classic 90 and Crystal. They had a good blend. Which, speaking of which, they're working on a new movie now.
Yes, and I saw they just released. Oh my God, 3 new characters.
Yeah, the voice actors. But yeah, okay. Here's my thing with watching Crystal. Watch Crystal if you don't want to read the manga.
Yes.
Because Crystal is the beat for beat rendition of the manga. And we actually talked about this a little bit in one of our earlier podcasts about how I'm surprised. Well, how the following the manga. And there was an argument that I had with my cousin back then of how they were saying American audiences were too soft to deal with a lot of and I was like, because you sit down and explain to your 9-year-old why it's not cool to commit suicide because your boyfriend got killed.
Right. And I'm sorry, she tried to kill herself like 5 times.
And she had no argument behind it. I was like, you tell me I'm too soft as a parent because I'm watching you watch this Magical Girl anime, and the first thing Usagi want to do when Endymion gets off somewhere is
Endymion. Oh my God! He's dead. They took him. I need to.
So your adult ass is not the target audience. I don't care if your adult ass is watching it. You're not the target audience. The young girls are, because again, at the end of the day, we're trying to sell toys. We're trying to sell merchandise. You want to be a magical girl, not a magical adolescent, not a magical grown woman. Okay? So you explain to the 9-year-old why it's not cool to sit there, and if your boyfriend gets the axe, don't take yourself out the earth.
Or also, one point that really always made me itch is the whole, like, I still think of her as Rini. Chibi Usa. And the fact that when she had the opportunity to become grown, she went straight for her daddy.
Yeah, so let's talk about the incest. Explain that to the kid. Like, why you know that even your younger iteration knows that these two people are your parents. You didn't lose your memory when you became Black Lady. So the moment you become Black Lady, it's girl, child.
Somebody didn't know. Hey, Tiny.
Exactly, full time. It's not okay. So when I had that argument with our cousin online that time, I was like, I ain't got no kids, but I can put myself in that shoe. I don't understand how you don't put yourself in that shoe. Don't call Americans soft because we don't know how to explain this.
Right. Also, like,
I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain to my 8-year-old, like you said, that that's her dad. That's her dad.
And she definitely sucked face with him.
Because again,
I
know for a fact we can handle same-sex relationships.
Even the poly that ends up in Crystal.
Right. But the incest and the suicide, excuse me, that's not
We are Tiny, we're talking about remakes versus the originals, and we're talking about 90s Sailor Moon versus Sailor Moon Crystal, and how it had to be redone because of certain aspects that are just you didn't know. Okay, quick rundown. Sailor Moon, the original, has incest because Chibiusa sucks face with her dad. Yeah. Sailor Moon tries to die several times. Every time.
She completed not just the act once. At least 3 times. I want to say, especially in Crystal.
Yes.
3 times in the manga. She kept doing it.
She keeps trying to kill every time.
Doing it.
Something's wrong with Endymion. Darien. She has to kill herself.
She will off herself. Yeah.
There was a lesbian couple, which America had known because they were very close cousins.
Very close cousins.
Very close
cousins. They were cousins, child.
And not only
closer
that,
than close.
She tried to unalive herself off because of that.
She did try to unalive her several times.
Not only that, we have a poly relationship that pops up at the end of it, where they literally are 3 women who are together, and they're gonna raise this baby who's Sailor Saturn. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And then we're not even going to talk about the later iterations when we start introducing the Sailor Stars who were technically trans.
Oh yeah, because they turned into girls when they transformed. How do you
Yep.
explain that to a kid who's
Right.
like, I want to be a Sailor Star, and then I turn into a girl, but by
Right.
day I'm a boy.
So you have to think about the time, not saying that, oh, well, does that make Japan a lot more progressive? One, I can't say because I didn't go pull the statistics on how they feel about a lot of things versus the things that, because think of it just like in America, there were several shows that we weren't allowed to watch
Yeah.
that tackled different subjects. Just because it was out there and people decided to tackle the subject, don't mean it was supposed to be consumed by a lot of people.
No.
Now, given in that same vein, you could say, well, again, it was an anime targeted towards children. And to that, I say, yeah, you're correct.
Correct.
So we'll just have to pull the statistics on the sensibilities of Japanese audiences versus America's. Because here in America, we like to pretend that we had morals.
Right.
Or we like to pretend that we sheltered kids for the greater good. You know what I mean? So yeah, it tackled a lot of things, but a lot of us are nostalgic for the 90s
Right.
version that we got. But as my older sister can tell you, and as a full-time nerd can tell you, when they start getting to those episodes where they were tackling all that stuff, either those didn't make it on TV, or they drastically changed the dynamic of the characters.
Big ball buster here too. Sailor Moon fights her last battle naked. She does. She fights her last battle naked. She's just got wings.
Because again,
titties out, kicking ass.
This can't contain this. But see, I'm gonna make this even more disturbing. Keep in mind, she ain't but 14, 15 years old.
Remind you, she's a 15-year-old. It's bad enough we're not talking about the fact that Mamoru / Indiman / Darien is in college, but okay, sure.
Yeah, so we're not gonna talk about that, but yeah. So let me throw another one out here, which me and Onyx had the. Not to get away from the conversation. Tsunami did sense that. You know, Black Buddha was big on. Do you remember what was it? Naruto? I think Zash Bear used to draw little heart underwear on the dudes when they were like in the hot springs. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let their hair like their naked rump out there. They would like draw.
Oh my god!
You know, the little underwear on there. Okay, but I'm digressing. Okay, because we got more damning examples
definitely.
of reboots and remakes. All right, so here we go. Me and Onyx did some research earlier today, so I'm gonna throw this one out there. I'm not having sure how many of y'all already did it, but here we go. Trigun versus Trigun Stampede.
I hate it. I don't hate it, but I hate it.
So
I am gonna go out with it because I really want y'all to understand. Like Trigun, Outlaw Star, and Cowboy Bebop was my jam. Not a lot of people watch Trigun, and not a lot of people watch Outlaw Star until later. Not a lot of people watch Cowboy Bebop. So I'm saying, the fact that you took Trigun, you took the $60 billion double dollar man,
$60 billion double dollars, and dropped him down to $6 million double dollars. Did you catch that?
Yeah, you saw that. You saw that. How dare you?
Not 60. Yeah, not the. I think that's my issue with a lot of animes, though. The characters are usually adolescents being placed in adult situations when we're supposed to just be like, "That's cool." That is another convo because again,
hold on, we're gonna write that down.
That's another topic because we got to circle back to fruits baskets with that too. But the comfortableness of very young characters with old characters in romantic situations.
We're gonna call that one "I Need an Adult." That's gonna be the name of that topic when we do it.
In more than one way, I need an adult.
I need an adult.
All right,
but no, you're right.
Yeah, how many of y'all in the chat has already watched the new
Trigun